Yes, sir.
I want to be forward thinking a little bit and refer to you as Senator Kerrey.
Yeah.
Okay. My particular question is about energy. We've heard about energy a lot in this campaign. 2 days ago or 3 days ago, Mayor Bloomberg came out and said that he supports Obama because of global warming. So I'm wondering where you see that particular facet of energy policy moving over the next 4 years. How important is global warming going to be instead of just this ticket of this sort of blanket statement of energy?
Well, I think climate change is real, and I think humans are causing it. And nobody's more vulnerable than a state like Nebraska that grows all of our food outside. So you lose an inch of rainfall every 50 miles, west of North Platte. I don't know if you saw that story about the 3 Republican river NRDs and North Platte NRD. I think I named Upper Platte, Middle Platte, whatever it is. NRD, 4 NRDs buying 19,000 acres of land. They're buying 19,000 acres of land because we got an agreement with Kansas to deliver water. They're going to pay $83 million for 45,000 acre feet of water. Right? And just you look at it, oh my gosh, what's that all about? What's all about water? It's why the original pipeline route was so bad. And I'm not so sure about the existing route. So it's the fear I've got is that we reach a point of no return, and because it's the planet, we can't get back to where we need to be. And I don't know what the acceptable level is. Was 500 parts per million or whatever the number is, but we need to reach. One of the promises I'm making is because I don't have a solution at the moment, but I know it's a problem. And one of the promises I'm making is to have a conversation with Nebraskans. Do you think it's a problem? I think Nebraskans will say that it is. And here's a range of solutions. And there's lots of upside opportunity with sequestration and wind and renewable energy sources that will create jobs and wealth in the state of Nebraska. It won't happen unless and until we say we got a problem, we're going to solve the problem by doing the following things. And I initially, actually, back in the good old days, supported cap and trade because it was suggested as a market-oriented way of getting the job done. That's what we did with clean air in 1990. But watching the regulatory requirements of cap and trade and watching the politics of it, I no longer think that's the right solution. I think you'd over-regulate, and the benefits are going to go to people that got the money to be able to lobby Congress and get the credits oriented the way they want the credits. So, I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity here for Nebraska to benefit from solving this problem. But I don't think it's going to happen until we say this is a problem. And we're causing it. And the last thing I'd say is every single time you come up with some environmental challenge, every single time you hear an argument, oh gosh, whatever solution you got, it's going to kill jobs, it's going to be bad for our economy, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I'm old enough to remember, actually I'm old enough to remember almost anything. But I'm old enough to remember tetraethyl lead. It kept our automobiles when we had high compression engines from knocking. And for 50 years, we knew that lead damaged children's brains. And we said, oh God, if we take the lead out, it's going to be terrible for our economy. Well, we took the lead out and it was good for our economy. It didn't hurt us. We had a hole in the ozone, caused by fluorocarbons, and we changed the law and it didn't kill the economy. You used to be able to smoke on airplanes. And I remember the debate over that. Oh my God, if you let people smoke on airplanes, it's going to be bad for jobs. You can't imagine somebody lighting up today, on an airplane. So every single time we have one of these debates, we always focus on the cost, understandably, or the change in our behavior. And every single time we move beyond it, we create jobs and wealth in the aftermath and make the world better. So I don't lack confidence in Nebraska's capacity, whether it's wind or other renewables. And there's a lot of upside wealth and job opportunity in wind energy in the state of Nebraska. I don't lack any confidence in our capacity to solve the problem, but unless and until we say it is a problem, we're going to do nothing. And I'll repeat, we only got one planet. This is not like taking a piece of paper and throwing it on the ground hoping somebody else is going to pick it up. If 500 parts per million is an intolerable level, and it might be, we're at 380 now. If that's an intolerable level, it takes 1,500 years to get back. So this is, among our problems, environmental problems, this is unarguably our biggest one. because it is global. It's not just us. But the evidence is there that every single time we've faced a problem like this in the past, we've always been better off than we do. Yes. Oh, I'm going to. Yes, sir.
Yeah. What are your views on the Hartford Expressway?
You know about the on for it. I mean, the whole development of western Nebraska and South Dakota has been quite exciting. I've been a part of helping bring resources to it. I mean, and it connects, by the way, to the affirmative effort that you got to make in all of rural development. You know, you have to keep asking yourself the question: what do I need to do in order for those individuals who choose to live in smaller rural communities, for them to have a chance that their economy is going to develop well? And transportation is a big part of it. And the Heartland Expressways, to me, it's a no-brainer, because it'll work both in South Dakota and Nebraska. It opens up, by the way, the door onto the importance of tourism. It's the second biggest source of jobs for us. And there's lots of things that, thank you, there's lots of things that we can do in that area. But there's many other things on my list of things to do for, to help rural communities develop. Chadron State happens to be on the list. So it's a big generator of educational opportunities, but it's a big generator of economic opportunities as well. The healthcare formulas under Medicare. I was there when we wrote the critical access provision of Medicare, and it reimburses hospitals with fewer than 25 beds at 101% of their costs. And I haven't been to a single one that would be open were it not for that. And we have, there's a big debate about, gee, why do we have food stamps in the farm program? And the answer actually is a fairly simple answer. The answer is because we're reauthorizing USDA, and USDA has food stamps. Now, if you want to move food stamps over to the Department of Health and Human Services, you can actually make a case to do it. But the reason food stamps is in the farm bill, because it's really not a farm bill. It's reauthorizing everything in USDA. And if you come into USDA, you see loan programs that are building hospitals. You see important sewer and water projects all across rural Nebraska. And my own experience in rural communities is the most important ingredient is leadership. People actually will willing to build things. Any jackass can kick something down. The question is, do you have the courage to actually build it? And so leadership is the most important thing. But then there's, transportation is an issue, healthcare is an issue, schools are an issue, infrastructure is an issue. And the marketplace in and of itself isn't going to solve that problem. And you need to not only put the law on the side of individuals who are doing the right thing, but law on the side of communities who are as well.
I hope we can get through Nebraska all the way.
Yeah, so do I. Yes, sir.
How much would you be willing to cut entitlement spending?
How much am I willing to be cut entitlement spending? Well, I mean, I actually been quite specific. I've endorsed a proposal on Social Security that answers the question specifically of what I'm willing to do. And I've done the same thing with Medicare, although we don't really save Medicare. All we do is push back the insolvency date 4 or 5 years, which is not insignificant, by allowing feds to negotiate pharmaceutical prices. But on Social Security, it is a change over a 40-year period in what the benefits are going to be. But there's two things I'd say, and again, you can look at it specifically and see what it is. And those are our two biggest entitlement programs. Medicaid is a big one as well. But just addressing those two. I do think, by the way, it's the foundation for getting a balanced budget agreement, getting Republicans and Democrats to stop demagoguing those two issues and agree. And both proposals that I've endorsed have Republican support, largely when I'm entirely by people who haven't signed Governor pledge. But I'd say that there's several things about Social Security and Medicare in particular that I would be opposed to changing. First is, any kind of privatization effort that would remove the defined benefit, and or that would remove the portability power of Medicare and Social Security, because it really is underappreciated, the value of it. But finally, I would say to those of us who are over the age of 65, the importance of Social Security and Medicare to us people over the age of 65 should be obvious. But it's an intergenerational program. It's not, and it enjoys strong intergenerational support. And one of the things about Social Security that I believe strongly is that we should be able to keep Whatever promise we have on the table, we should be able to keep it. And right now, for anybody under the age of 40, they're looking at a 25% cut in benefits. That isn't fair. It isn't fair because they're going to need it just as much. So making adjustments in the program is important not just for the budget, but it's also important for, I would say, intergenerational equity. So beyond that, there are other entitlement programs. I don't know if there's time to go into Medicaid. I love the idea that Lamar, conservative Republican from Tennessee, Lamar Alexander, he and I served together in the 80s as governors, and he's got an idea to swap out Medicaid for K-12. And I think it's a great idea. I think the states would be much better in charge of all K through 12. It would save Nebraska some money and reverse what you actually have right now with state spending, which is because Medicaid is growing as a fraction of the budget. No matter who the governor is, good or bad, there's pressure on them to provide less aid to higher education and less aid to K through 12, both of which put upward pressure on property taxes and upward pressure on tuition. So I think swapping it out is good from an educational standpoint, from a state budget standpoint, but I also think it allows us to change Medicaid so it's not a welfare program. So there's some requirement to pay. You don't have this cliff on your income, so you put the law on the side of people who are working. Understand there's people with disability, there's a long-term care provision in there. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the acute care portion of Medicaid. You can make that portable and again, line it up with this goal of having the law on the side of working. And right now, Medicaid's not on the side of working. It's on the side of working up to a certain point, because up to a certain point, you have the benefit, and after that, you lose it.